Good morning, students. Today we will discuss the second application of Gauss law, that is the electric field due to the infinite plane charged sheet. Here is the infinite plane charged sheet having surface charge density sigma. It is the surface plane charged sheet having surface charge density sigma. Now, electric field due to the plane charge sheet, that is the infinite plane charge sheet, is remains constant near the sheet. First of all, we will prove that the electric field due to the infinite plane charge sheet is constant. Okay. For this, consider a cylindrical Gaussian surface. This is the cylindrical Gaussian surface. Yes, this is the cylindrical Gaussian surface here outside the charged sheet, and surface area, that is the elementary surface area of the left side flat surface is towards left direction, say dA1 vector, and electric field at this point is towards right direction, it is E vector, and for the right side flat surface, area vector is towards right side and electric field is also towards right side. Now the total electric flux through this hypothetical Gaussian surface, that is equal to phi 1 plus phi 1 plus phi 2 plus phi 3. Here for the flat surface the angle is 0 degree for this surface. Here for the second surface this angle is also 0 degree, and for the third surface the angle is 90 degree. Now the flux through the third surface becomes 0 because the cos 90 is 0. Now the total flux comes out to be E2 minus E1 into A, and the charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface, as we see here, there is no charge inside the Gaussian surface, that's why charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface is 0. Now using Gauss law, phi equal to charge enclosed upon epsilon naught, and total charge enclosed is 0, that's why here charge enclosed is 0, that's why it becomes E2 minus E1 equal to 0, that's why E1 equal to E2. Hence we can say that the electric field near the infinite plane charged sheet is 0. Now here consider again cylindrical Gaussian surface with its flat surface parallel to the given sheet, and half side right side and half side left side as shown in this figure. Here is the figure. Now again we have to find the total flux through this Gaussian surface. Now flux towards the left side, that is the flat surface here, area vector is towards left direction, and electric field due to the positive charge is away from the sheet, that's why electric field is also along the same direction. And for the right surface, area vector is towards right direction and electric field is also towards right direction. And for this curved surface, area vector is towards upward direction, and electric field is towards left direction, and angle between the area vector and the electric field is 90 degree. That's why the total flux through this Gaussian surface, that is the cylindrical surface, phi equal to flux through the first surface plus flux through the second surface plus flux through the third surface, and it comes out to be 2E into A. Now total charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface is sigma into A. Using Gauss law, that is total flux linked through the closed surface equal to total charge inside the Gaussian surface divided by epsilon naught. That's why E equal to sigma upon 2 epsilon naught. This is the electric field due to the infinite plane charged sheet. Now the next application is electric field just outside a charged conductor. Here is the charged conductor having positive charge, and in case of conductor, charge is always distributed on the surface of the conductor. Now again consider a cylindrical Gaussian surface. See here, this is the cylindrical Gaussian surface here, with its half part outside the conductor surface and half part inside the conducting surface. As we know that electric field inside the conductor is always zero. There is no electric field inside the conductor in case of electrostatics. In electrostatics, there is no electric field inside the conductor. Now area vector of this flat surface is towards left side, and electric field is 0, and for the right side flat surface, area vector is towards right and electric field is also towards right, and for the curved surface, area vector is along upward direction and electric field is towards right. That's why electric flux through the curved surface again will be 0. Here electric flux comes out to be E into A, that is here total electric flux through the Gaussian surface, that is the cylindrical surface, phi equal to E into delta A, that is here. Now if sigma is the local surface charge density, because we can say that in case of conductor, sigma here depends upon the radius of curvature, and it is universally proportional to the radius of curvature. That's why sigma is local surface charge density. It is not uniformly distributed. Charge is not uniformly distributed here. Now charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface is equal to sigma into delta A. Delta is the flat surface area. Now using Gauss law, total electric flux linked through the closed surface is equal to charge enclosed by epsilon naught. That's why E equal to sigma upon epsilon naught. This is the third application of Gauss law. Electric flux field due to the conductor is E equal to sigma upon epsilon naught just outside the conductor. Now next application is electric field due to the thin spherical shell. Again, electric field due to the uniformly charged thin spherical shell. In this case, we have to find electric field outside the shell, at the surface of the shell, and inside the shell. Hence we have to deal the three cases: electric field inside the shell, electric field at the surface of the shell, and electric field outside the shell. Now case first. Case first, electric field outside the shell. See here, this is the Gaussian surface outside the shell, this surface, and consider a small element of this shell here, and area vector is towards right side, because area vector is always away from the surface. Area vector is always normally outward on the surface. That's why area vector is towards the right side, and electric field is also towards the right side. That's why angle between the area vector and the electric field is 0. Now the total electric flux through the closed surface is equal to E dot dA integration through the closed surface. It comes out to be E into 4 pi r square. That is the E, the electric field, and 4 pi r square is the surface area of the surface area of the sphere. Now total charge inside the Gaussian surface is Q. That charge is inside the Gaussian surface Q. Now using Gauss law, E dot dA through the closed surface equal to charge enclosed upon epsilon naught, that is E into 4 pi r square equal to Q upon epsilon naught. That's why electric field outside is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q upon r square. This is the electric field outside the spherical shell. And at the surface of the shell, in case of surface, the small r is equal to the capital R, that is the radius of the shell. Now electric field at the surface is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q upon r square. Now electric field inside the shell, the last case is electric field inside the shell. Electric field inside the shell. Now see here again, this is the Gaussian surface here. This is the Gaussian surface, and charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface is obviously 0. Now the Gauss law states that flux phi equal to charge enclosed upon epsilon naught, and the flux is E into 4 pi r square. E equal to 4 pi E into 4 pi r square, and again here phi equal to charge inside the Gaussian surface divided by epsilon naught. Here flux is E into 4 pi r square, and this equal to 0 because there is no charge inside this Gaussian surface. Now E equal to 0. That's why electric field inside the shell is 0. Now this is the graph showing variation of electric field due to the charged shell. Inside the shell, electric field is 0. Inside the shell, the electric field is obviously 0. At the surface, electric field is maximum, that is E equal to something KQ upon r square, and outside the shell, electric field decreases, and E is outside, electric field outside is directly proportional to 1 upon r square. On increasing distance, electric field decreases. That the graph is a rectangular hyperbola. Now, the fifth application of Gauss law. Electric field due to the uniformly charged non-conducting solid sphere. This is the non-conducting solid sphere having radius r and total charge q. Now, consider a Gaussian surface of radius r and r greater than capital R, that is the small r greater than capital R. The Gaussian surface is outside the given solid non-conducting sphere. Now the total charge inside the Gaussian surface is q. Obviously the charge is inside the Gaussian surface, and total flux, see here the small element of this Gaussian surface, the small element of this Gaussian surface a small element of this Gaussian surface is like this. This is the area vector, and electric field is also towards this direction, like this. Here is the area vector, electric field is like this, and area vector is also like this. Area vector is also normally outward on the surface. Now total electric flux linked through the surface, is phi equal to E into surface area of this sphere is 4 pi r square. Now using Gauss law, phi equal to charge enclosed upon epsilon naught, and the total flux is E into 4 pi r square. Here phi is E into 4 pi r square, and this equal to Q upon epsilon naught. That's why electric field outside E equal to K Q upon r square. This is the electric field due to the uniformly charged non-conducting solid sphere outside it, that varies, decreases with the distance. As distance increases, electric field decreases. The graph is again a rectangular hyperbola for the outside points. Now electric field at the surface, just put a small r equal to capital R. Your small r equal to capital R. That's why electric field at the surface E equal to, this is K Q upon r square. This is the electric field outside. When we have to find electric field at the surface, put a small r equal to capital R. That's why it becomes KQ upon r square. This is the electric field at the surface. Now electric field inside. Now the electric field inside the non-conducting solid sphere. We have to calculate total electric flux and total charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface. See here is the Gaussian surface, like this. This is the Gaussian surface, and again total flux is E into 4 pi r square. Again total flux is E into 4 pi r square, and total charge enclosed, total charge inside the Gaussian surface is Q into RQ upon RQ. This is the total charge inside the Gaussian surface. Now we have to use the Gauss law. Using Gauss law, total flux through the Gaussian surface, phi equal to charge inside the Gaussian surface divided by epsilon naught, and total flux is E into 4 pi r square, and this equal to Q into a small r cube upon capital R cube. That comes out to be E equal to, see here, E equal to K Q a small r upon capital R cube. This is the electric field inside the non-conducting uniformly charged solid sphere. Now we have to plot the graph between the electric field and the distance from the center. Now electric field inside follows this relation: E equal to kq small r upon capital R cube, and capital R is constant. That's why electric field here inside the sphere, electric field E is directly proportional to R. That is, the graph is a straight line, y equal to mx. This graph is a straight line. Yes, this graph is a straight line, and at the surface electric field is maximum. That is, at the surface electric field is maximum. At the surface electric field is maximum, and it is kq upon r square. This is the electric field at the surface. That is the maximum value of the electric field. Now outside, electric field is inversely proportional to r square. The graph is rectangular hyperbola. That's why the graph is like this. The graph is like this. Take electric field along the vertical axis, distance from the center along the horizontal axis. The electric field is like this. Now here are some questions. There are two plane charged set A and B. They have surface charge density plus sigma 1 and minus sigma 2. Now we have to find electric field at point P, Q and R. Here E1 electric field due to the infinite plane charge set is sigma 1 upon 2 epsilon naught. E2 equal to sigma 2 upon 2 epsilon naught. Now the electric field at point P, electric field due to the first seat and second seat both are along the right side. That's why electric field at point P is vector sum of electric field due to the first seat and the second seat, that is E1 plus E2. That's why electric field at point P, is sigma 1 plus sigma 2 upon 2 epsilon. This is the electric field at point P. Electric field at point P is EP equal to sigma 1 plus sigma 2 divided by 2 epsilon naught. This is the electric field at point P. Now at point Q and R, the electric field is due to the first seat and due to the second seat is in opposite direction. For point Q, at point Q, the electric field due to the first seat is towards left side, and electric field due to the right seat is towards right side. That's why electric field at point Q due to these two seats is vector sum of E1 and E2, and obviously they are in opposite direction. That's why EQ equal to E1 minus E2. That's why it comes out to be EQ equal to sigma 1 minus sigma 2 divided by 2 epsilon naught. This is the electric field at point Q, and also at point R this is the same value. it has the same value at point R. At point R also electric field is sigma 1 minus sigma 2 upon 2 epsilon naught. If here it is given that sigma 1 equal to sigma 2, the surface charge density on the two sheets are equal, then if the surface charge density on the two sheets are equal, then EP equal to sigma upon epsilon naught, and EQ equal to ER, and this equal to 0. This is the electric field due to the given charged parallel sheets having equal and opposite charges, but magnitude of charge density is same.